It's June 20th at 6 p.m. I'm going to call this meeting to a regular board meeting. We are in the HW House for boardroom of the BCISD administration building. We do have a quorum present with 6 out of the 7 trustees. If y'all will please stand, we are going to say a quick prayer, and then our Lenny Roberts students are going to lead us in the pledge of allegiance. Heavenly Father, thank you for this evening. Thank you for everyone that is present. Thank you for what you're doing in this school district day in and day out. I pray that you would be with us as we make decisions to continue to move this district in the way that you are making this head and the leadership of the district is going. Thank you for all that you're doing, and thank you for allowing us to be here this evening, and pray that we have a great meeting and everything is in your name. Amen.
Our Lenny Roberts students will come to the floor real quick. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all so much. All right, we have no audience with pictures this evening, so we'll move straight into celebration of excellence with Lenny Roberts and Cherry Elementary this evening.
All right, good evening. Thank you, families, for being here. Thank you, school board, for allowing us to celebrate our kids. We thought the middle of the year was exciting, but the end of the year to me is a bigger, I guess, accomplishment. The students we're celebrating tonight are the students that have grown the most from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. So at the middle of the year, we're celebrating the students that were the highest or scored the highest. So these students, a lot of them have gone, we go by numbers, we go from well below to below the benchmark to meet benchmark. Most of these students started in the below and went, or well below, I'm sorry, and went all the way to above the benchmark. So that's a huge accomplishment. So let's go ahead and give a round of applause. So the students we're celebrating 5 students in first grade for reading and math, and then 5 students in second grade for reading and math. So it's the top 20 students for the growth for Lenny Roberts. And then I know Cherry's going to follow suit with some other ones. So we're going to go ahead and get started. A few of our students are out of the country for the summer, and so we're still going to celebrate because I told their parents that we are live so they can watch. The first one is Matias Renata Gutierrez. This is Kate Rodriguez. Molina. Nathan Williams. Continue, so those are for our reading. We're going to continue to the second grade reading. Guadalupe Bautista. Alex Herrera. Charlie Griffith. And then Aaron Renata Gutierrez. Dylan Barrera. So now moving on to our math excellence for the most growth for the 2022-2023 school year. Sylvia Cobrubia. Ferris. Gordon Hernandez. Dulce Andrade. Vanessa Cervantes. And now for second grade, Jimmy Johnson. Grayson Aguilar. And I'd like to also point out for Grayson, he was also here the middle of the year, but he showed so much improvement. He actually received an award in the middle of the year for being the highest, but then he also was getting an award for the most growth as well. So Grayson, thanks, Brett. Those are our students for Lily Harper. I would like for my teachers that are able to come, friends, please stand up, because these teachers are, they don't want to be seen. These students. Okay, great.
All right, so hi, Cherry Elementary. My name is Kate. I'm from instructional coach, and I have my wonderful bilingual kindergarten teacher here with me, sitting in notes. So thankful. We do have several of our families here who are bilingual, so she's going to translate a little bit as we have to go along. But we're going to start with our pre-K students, and we are also recognizing our students who showed the most amount of growth from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. And for pre-K, sorry.
Hola. Yo celebrando los niños que han tenido un ingreso muy grande y hemos visto un gran esfuerzo en la parte de ellos y vamos a celebrar todos ellos que están en nuestro salón.
Okay. So for pre-K, we took what's called a CLI assessment, beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year. And so we will be recognizing those students who show the most amount of growth in reading first.
Okay, los demás, durante todo el año, en el principio, en el medio y también al finales, fueron los que tuvieron más ingreso.
Our first student is Darius and Gary. Right over here, Darius. Our next student is Lucas Corsi. Eileen Lopez. Liz Maria Rodriguez. And Juan Margot Valentero. Okay. And then we here, those are our reading students who showed the most amount of growth all year, and now we have our math pre-K feel like students who showed the most amount of growth all year as well. Okay, Jesus Avila Martinez. And Taylor Martinez Mendez. Isaiah Gomez. Was Maria Rodriguez. And Mia Nunez. All right, and we're having our previous students to say right there, we're gonna move on to kindergarten and the same day, we're gonna be recognizing our students who showed the most amount of growth all year. And for kindergarten, we take what's called in-class test. So we're gonna recognize those reading scores first. Leonardo Amatita. Kindergarten teachers, and I know they would love to probably give their certificates. Yes. We're building that. Breaks. Logan Tice. JL Wright. Okay, for our math top in class scores for this year, we have JL Wright. Ian Lara. Ryan Blackman. Romeo Haki. And Makai Morgan. And here are our wonderful cheerleaders.
No, I'm fine. Okay, everyone look this way, big smile. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Big smile. Perfect. Thank you.
Great meeting. Two.
Anybody ever tell you? How are you? Okay. See y'all tomorrow. We still have one line. I'm not sure it's still what it is. Get your number. Bye. I'm gonna go take a picture. Right.
Thank you, Cherry and Lily Roberts, for presenting this. It's always so good to see not only what high school is doing in junior high, but also what our younger students are doing and the growth that they're showing. So that just means that we're going to see success in the years to come with it, and that it's really exciting as we build a culture of that. Thank you all for what you're doing. All right, we're going to move on to our next item, which is good news. So we started this one, our last meeting, just allowing board members to go around and share something good that they have seen throughout the district since our last time in May. So if anyone has anything that they would like to share, I will open up the floor.
I just want to say our high school and junior high. Our kids are having a great time in these skills days and cross country volleyball and soccer, the three that we're experiencing. It's keeping the kids active, they're having fun, they're learning skills, they're getting out of the house, so really enjoy the program that the athletics is put on.
Great. I will say the employee banquet that we had at the end of May was incredible. Talking with employees after the fact, I think the way that was put on and the way that it was done so well was just a cherry on top for all of our employees that has worked so hard all year long and come to the end and we're able to be recognized in a way that was, I think, special. I know I felt very special to me and like a privilege to be there. So thank you for those that worked willingly on all the hours. I don't even know, but I can't even imagine how many hours y'all been into it, but you did a great job. So thank you all for that.
I would like to take it over here because everybody got something really nice and I did not get a cooler. I did not get a personalized chair, so he was over that committee, make me feel better tonight, give me one, and I'll give you joy.
What's your good news tonight?
My good news is that we just had almost a week together at the SLI and had a wonderful time. And I want y'all to know, thank you, BCISD, for that treat, because it was definitely a treat. I learned so much, I've gotten so much information, I even came loaded with it tonight to share. So we had a good time just talking amongst ourselves and enjoying one another. But as far as everything else, the only one I get from is my Callie, and she's happy. So as long as my Callie is happy, I'm happy, and she loves Roberts, loves being there. She thinks she's going to second grade and it's embarrassing, but it's not. But she said they're seniors on that campus, so we are having a good time.
Great.
At the end of the school year, or especially our junior high and high school, but I think it's sent down to all the younger campuses too. We had several opportunities in the school year where they showed their talents and expertise, and I think they did an amazing job with how quick the communication was, how fast their actions were, how decisive they were in those situations. It was very, very nice to see.
Anybody else?
To be just looking at the news right now, I just want to congratulate the campus principals, the hiring committees, the staffs on all of our campuses. When we hear about nationwide teacher shortages, all campuses are so close to being fully staffed. All campuses are very close to fully staffed. And those things develop in a moment. And so I know I had two go across my desk today. So there may be one that just became 100% today. So thank you all for your, even whether you're coming up for an interview committee or organizing it, just that relentless effort, knowing that a great start to the year means everything being fully staffed. And I know there's a ton of work and people are working around the clock to staff their campuses to ensure class sizes are manageable and that we have these great team members to lean on and join the culture of excellence here at Bay City. So congrats on all your hard work. It's been great. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on to the next portion of our agenda, which is LSG. Hello, sir. How are you this evening?
I'm doing great.
Great, good to see you. Glad you're here.
Me too. So tonight, we'll start out by looking back at last month. And so in your blue folder there, Give you a copy of the time tracker. And you can see the meeting was 116 minutes long. And 30 minutes of that was spent focused on student outcomes and related items. So that's 25.86%. That's good. It's short of our goal, but it's still good. And so we had 6 board members present, only 1 absent. We had 6 items on the consent agenda and got full. And so 6 other items. Those other items are where we took up some of the time, but that's understandable. So that's our time tracker for last month. And then when we look at this month's monitoring calendar, we're monitoring early childhood reading and early childhood math. And I don't know, I hope you guys can look over that ahead of time. The principals are going to come and make a presentation now. It's remarkable. I have to tell you, got to hand it to these teachers, kids, and the administrators. But really, thank you as a board for holding the goals out there, making these goals, and then monitoring how they're doing. So I think we'll start off with Ms. Esteban and Ms. Langer, and they're going to cover goals 1.1 and then 2.1, and that's for kindergarten reading.
So, hi, I'm Kelly Esteban, I'm the instructional coach at Cherry Elementary, and I am very honored to present our Cherry Elementary data. Lisa Howard, we are missing her so much, but we are just thrilled to present this wonderful data to you that our teachers and our students have worked so hard throughout this year, and we have surpassed our goal, and I'm super excited. Mrs. Howard, of course, was not able to be here, but she has set us up for success with this amazing PowerPoint. I'm so thankful for her and getting all this data for us and collecting it so that we can present it tonight. I have Jessica Langer here. She's also going to help me present. She's one of our team leaders for kindergarten. And so I'm very thankful that she's going to be today. All right, let's get started. So this again is just how we did. We are going to be looking at our in-class data. Screen reading goals for kindergarten reading and math. So we're going to start with kindergarten reading. So at the beginning of the year, we had 18% of our students who met grade level, or they met their requirement for our reading assessment. And at the end of the year, we now have 47% of our students who have met their grade level expectation for our in-class reading. Also, throughout all of our subpopulations, they grew exponential amounts, and so I'm super proud. This kind of goes into those percentages of students who did not meet, approaches, meet, and masters. The red line indicates our LSG goal, which was 38%. And if you'll take a look, the yellow represents our end of the year percentages, and we were at 46% for meets and masters.
You put that one slide real quick. Our,
The title, right?
our 1.1 for the African American says 15, and I want to draw everyone's attention that it's actually 36 instead of the 15% in our booklet. So, sorry. I was like, wait, that doesn't add up even when I wrote that. So I just wanted to make sure that
Okay.
they could see that one.
Thank you.
No, I looked at it. Oh, wait. So.
Yes, we wanted to take this knowledge out because that is amazing. That our African American subpopulation group had 36% who have met their goals. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
Could I just say that when I look at that, I'm going, whoa, that doesn't even look right. If you look at 1 point, goals
Right.
1 and 2, there's advancement in every single subpart. And I'm like, whoa, that can't be right. So thank you for getting it clear.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so this just kind of presents it in a little bit of a different format. So the red line, again, is indicating our 38% goal, which was what we had for the end of the year, and we are now at 46% for meets and masters. For approaches, we had 19%, and then the 35% of did not meet. I also want to remind you, I know you might be familiar with in class, but each time we take this assessment, the needs for increases. So if you take a look at our data, you'll realize that maybe 4 or 5 students at the beginning of the year were even sitting at the meets and masters for the end of the year. So we have a long ways to go because it constantly increases on where they need to be by the end of the year. Again, just a friendly reminder that this particular exam is also timed. So you don't just have to know the material, you gotta know it quick. And so I'm just so proud of our students. They really have done a phenomenal job. And we'll dive in a little bit how we did that a little bit later. But this again just kind of goes over our reading in class kindergarten. And it did not meet approaches, beats, and masters because in class goes over what's called like a red, yellow, green, red, yellow, green, and blue scoring. So okay, for kindergarten, math. For math, it looks a little bit different. We don't have above benchmark, it's just red, yellow, and green. And so we focus on the kids that are these baseline, they're the ones that are doing that net benchmark. And as you can see, we increased our student growth otherwise. All of our kids, and of course, our based population, as well too. Very proud of that. This shows the beginning, middle, and end and how that changes. And just like Ms. Mom said, the expectation grows every benchmark, and it's still time. So it's not just that they're testing on a skill, it's that they have to do it in that time limit, which is tricky for our little ones. So I'm again super happy to look at that purple, that at the end of the year, we only had 4% that net beginning of the year versus end of the year, sorry, increased a lot, and that's just great. Our teachers did a really great job, really focusing, and I'm working on the skill set so that we can increase those goals. Okay, so how do we get there? This year, we started a data wall. And it was super successful, and I'm so excited to really enhance it even more next year. But our teachers really took ownership of this data wall. They were able to track their beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year for each of their students, and they had the opportunity to move their students up to blue or green or yellow. And some students went back a color or 2 colors, middle of the year, happened at the end of the year, but it really makes us identify and figure out that gap and meet those needs for those students. So it's very eye-opening. It's easy to look at, and we really dived into it. We took our middle of the year data and we sat down during ILT and we really tried to figure out, okay, what is it that we need to do to get our students to that goal? And we just looked at each kid and each classroom, and we just made a list of different types of intervention activities and small group activities that we can do to meet the needs of each student, because each student wants or needs instruction in a different way. And so this data wall just really helped, and I'm just so excited to even, this is the first year we did something like this, so even next year is going to be even better. So this right here was the beginning of the year pictures. And then this is the end of the year. So well, the top is beginning of the year, and then the bottom is the top is middle of the year, and the bottom is end of the year. So you'll see that at 355 and below, those students were in the red at the middle of the year. 356 and 370, they're in the yellow at the middle of the year, and so forth. Okay, so then at the bottom, it starts, you're in the red, or we call it purple because we don't like red. But 405 and below is in the red. So let's take a look at where 405 was at middle of the year. Masters. If you scored a 405, you were at masters. If you score a 405 again at the end of the year, you're in the red. So we really, just because you're in the masters at the middle of the year, then by golly, you still got to be pushed to that next level. And so we did not stop. We just kept going and kept going. Even those students who were in the green and the blue in the middle of the year, we have to continue to push them and get them to where they need to be at the end of the year. And I love that today we identified those students who showed the most amount of growth, because again, those students, like Ms. Wendell said, the students who scored the highest in the middle of the year were recognized, but they kept going and they were still recognized again because they showed a tremendous amount of growth. So we don't stop just because you're at the top, middle of the year, you gotta keep going, and so we were able to recognize some of those students tonight, which it's very meaningful. Anyway, but I just love the fact that you can see in like this blue box here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 6 to 7 purples that are in the blue. So that I love looking at this picture, and we're going to be able to utilize this information for next year. So we're just taking this and we're looking at it in a different aspect. We're not just printing out the reports and looking at the numbers. It's just it's very visual, very eye-opening. And I'm just really excited. And I'm very proud of our teachers. They have worked so hard throughout this whole year. So kudos to them and all those who are here. Thank you. So this is, we just wanted to show some fun pictures. So there's the actual slide for time.
Yeah. In each section,
Yes.
is that also like the closer purple is to yellow?
No.
No.
So thank you for pointing that out, because we are going to make that improvement for next year. So this year we were just like, let's get it in the box. It also is confusing when one teacher goes and moves her cards and then another teacher comes, it's hard to kind of put them in order. But now that we have this under our belt this first year, we're going to be able to fix that for next year. So we can really see those students. I know what you're saying, like on the line, are they about to jump? No, not necessarily.
Okay.
But we're excited to fix that for next year. We just kind of got through the system this year, but anyway, they're not in the numerical order within the box.
Okay.
Well, and I think this picture is a great jumping point, like you said, for next year. You can look at those boxes from your end of year data and quickly identify who is who and where needs to get, who needs what and what groups need this and that. And so I think this visual for me as a board member is great to be able to say, oh my gracious, look at all of the purple that's moved over, or look at the yellow that's moved over. So I think in that sense, that is fantastic. I know when we were at SLI, you even brought it up to Dr. Mack and one of the trainings that we were in. I remember that board that Cherry did and how they pushed it over, and just the visual for the teachers and for everyone, even when you come to the meetings. I think it's,
Well, we were excited about middle of the year, and then when we pulled parts for end of year, it's even more meaningful.
right,
Because you really get to see that purple spread throughout. And so
right.
it is very meaningful to be able to take that card, you know how much you work with that kiddo, and all the small group instruction that he did, and be able to move it up.
So thank you for spearheading it and making it happen. I know from here, it's just the launching point. So thank you, Cherry, for doing this, and the visual and all of it comes along with it. It's going to be huge and very impactful.
Yes.
Great job. Great job. I love what you know. That you know it's gonna be right. Who knows? Yeah, I already know. I didn't even want to look at it again. But this was a wonderful job.
Thank you. Okay, so here's just some fun pictures that we wanted to share, because it takes a village. It took everyone on our campus, our custodial staff, our cafeteria workers. So we just have so much passion. You can tell when you go into our building that we truly have a lot of passion. It takes a lot of passion to teach 4 and 5-year-olds all day. So I'm just so thankful to be on this campus, and the passion just shines through all of them. And again, dedication, rain, sleet, snow, ice, all of the things. Heat, it's very hot. It looks like we're so cold and comfy and cozy in those pictures, and then I'm sweating. But it's just fun. It's our just dedication to be at school every single day for these students. It just means a lot. And again, it's not just our teachers and our paraprofessionals. Officer Lopez is amazing at recess. He loves to run around and play with the students, and that is the slightest thing that you can do, but it is a huge impact for these students. They probably only remembered all day, 8 hours, no academics, but they remembered Officer Lopez at recess. How was your day? Well, we played with Officer Lopez. Well, there you go.
Very true.
So again, just the celebrations, we have so many opportunities for our students to really celebrate and just have fun at school. And so with our Scarecrow Parade, 100 Day of School, Gigi, the mascot for one of our programs, SC Math, we just have so much fun. We celebrate every day, any opportunity. As you know, we have lots of dress-up days as well. Okay, everybody at our campus shows enthusiasm in everything that we do. We do lots of hands-on, we do lots of play-based learning. Those in-class scores and our data is super important, but what's more important is that we're growing the whole child and that we are making sure that they are ready to be at first grade, not just academically, but socially and emotionally as well. And so our teachers do a great job in helping that and promoting that love of learning from the very beginning. And of course, our inspiration is our little ones, right? That's why we're here. That's why we do what we do is to make sure that that they're happy, that they're safe when they come to school, that they feel safe, and that they like being here. Our collaboration starts a lot and is volunteering with our PLCs and how we can get that rolling. We plan across grade levels, we plan within our grade levels. We really try to merge everything that we're doing at Cherry so that we are one school and not separate grade levels. I think it's more important for the kids to learn that way and just kind of create everything as one whole unit where we're at. And again, our great engagement at Cherry Elementary. Our parents, no, you can go right ahead. We're so passionate about our parents. We both said the same time. We couldn't do what we do if we didn't have parent support. Cherry has a great turnout for events and support from parents to show up. And we wouldn't be able to do what we do, and our job would be a lot harder if we didn't have that. So we appreciate everything that they do for us. Our student role model are, we have the opportunity and we use that a lot this year to have some junior high kids come over, have high school kids come over, and we really focus on making sure that our kids know that they are Black hats from the very beginning. They step on our campus and they will follow throughout their academic career and 11 Black hats, be Black hats in high school. And so it's really fun to have those older kids come to our campus. They think that it's amazing to see these big kids show up and do anything that they want. So we're super proud of that, and we hope we can incorporate that more next year. And of course, we also are the foundation and want to start that early independence, and those kids will fit. So we are the legacy makers. Okay, so we want to make sure that we are Black hats through the whole way. Once we merged and we stopped doing the color coded with the schools and the Cherry and everything like that. We just want to focus that we start those kids at Cherry and we want to be with them the whole entire time until they graduate and really provide the foundation for that legacy that we can get them to where they graduate from high school. That's all.
Great, thank you. Any questions for her before they?
Did an amazing job, great job.
Fantastic, thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Mrs. Langer.
You both did great. Thank y'all.
Just wish you could be a little more enthusiastic.
Because you love yourself too, a little.
You're kidding. That's fantastic. Really.
How many could you introduce this gentleman?
So this is Tony. He is from Region 3 and he is our LSG coach. So Lone Star Governance is a program that we as a board have decided that we're going to do to continue to measure student data. And the reason that we're doing it is because the research shows that until our behavior changes at this table, we start focusing on our student data, that our student outcomes will then change as well. Yes, sir. Sorry about that.
So we're gonna go on with the rest of the report for goals 1 and 2, and this one will have that.
Let's get another round of applause. Nervous? Yeah.
You done?
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Last.
All right, this is Wendell, let's hear about first and second graders.
Well, okay, but let me play the song, celebrate the time we went right now, because I'm so proud of Jared, because those kids are gonna be our kids. And I'm so proud of our staff and our students, because they're moving on to city homes. And there's just so many great things happening. So at the beginning of the PowerPoint, at the beginning, let's see just celebration time, because that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna celebrate. Last year I stood in front of you and I had to tell you that we only met 3 of our 4 goals. Today I stand in front of you very proudly, saying we met all 4 of our goals for our LSU. And so I'm gonna run through the data, but before I do it, in the middle of the year, I feel like we came and we wanted to prove to you what we were doing and everything. So I just wanted to kind of remind you of a few of the things that I feel are very important from why we got here. It's the tutorials, it's the data walls. Our staff does an amazing job, and Patty has all the magnets ready to go with teachers that set them up at the beginning of the year and move them at the middle of the year, and then they move them at the end of the year. So it's just so cool. And I know that y'all are working, y'all are busy, but I was very proud that Trustee Nunez, he does get the advantage to come over our campus because he has a kid. But he was intrigued by the data wall and wanted to come up, see it, learn more about it. So I just want to give him a big shout out. But again, he's on the campus a lot because of his daughter. So that's another thing. The PLTs is just jam packed with different information. Patty does an excellent job of facilitating the PLTs. We work with Region 3 this year very closely as we were digging through and packing the sheets, exit tickets. And then we'll also be working with Region 3 this upcoming year for the data driven instruction. So at the end of the year, when everyone thought we were going on break, we had a couple days of some PE. It was very intense. It was very meaningful though. And while we sat at the table with our IoT teams, we're already planning for next year, what we can do different, what the data conversations are gonna look like, and just be more of a cohesive relationship and just make sure we're just continuing to be transparent. We're very transparent as it is, but we just need to keep going the next day and action. And just the conferences. I'm so proud of the team that we have a team that is full of passion, but I guess it was right after Christmas break, some girls came into my office. I call them girls because they're so much younger than me. They had a box, they had a presentation, they're like, "Do you want to go to this conference?" I was like, "Oh my gosh." Well, Elizabeth Rollins, you shout out, I would say to move some of my funding around. And so next week, I'm taking a team of 6, 7 of us to Rainbow Lane for future teacher on where we're going to have the best presenters ever. It's one of those things that hardly ever comes to Texas. We're taking advantage of it. It's usually Vegas. Dr. Mack wouldn't let me go to Vegas. Going to have to go to Rainbow instead. But anyways, so we just don't stop learning. We just continue. Ms. Colleen is not here tonight because she is with some of our officers and it's on right now. I have the school safety convention. So we're continuously looking at ways to improve. With that being said, I do want to say we had our safety audit at the very end of the school year. We were the last campus to have one, and we passed with flying colors. They tried getting entrance to the cafeteria, they shut them down, they tried to go to the gym, they got shut down, they made it all the way back to the front to go in and get their badge and everything. So very, very proud of the campus staff for making sure we're doing what we need to keep students and staff safe. Our parent nights, we already have a book for this next year. Scholastic does a great job. Mr. Robinson comes down and facilitates those. We usually have that one in the spring. We're already booking for the fall because he's just so high energy and engaging. We want to get books in the kids' homes quicker. We want to get him to talk more. The parents can sometimes listen to other people more than they want to listen to us. So we already have those planned for the upcoming year. And then it's just us being in the classrooms. Miss Allen and I were 21 walkthroughs away from 500. So we had 479 walkthroughs that we did in this school year. The teachers didn't and that's even the formal evaluation. So it's over 500. That's not just every day, it's checking in and seeing what's going on. So we are in this classes and we're making sure that our teachers have whatever they need from us. All they have to do is ask. Anytime they need anything, they don't go with Elizabeth or Vince or Mr. Johnson, and we make sure to make it happen. So now we can talk about the data. So if you look at goal 1.2, it says that we're gonna increase from 26 to 46. You can see in reading for first grade, we did exceed that. We got to 53% for our needs. So huge kudos, and we can also see that we also improved in every demographic across the board. Some quite exponentially than the others. For second grade, our goal, this is one we did not meet last year, and we barely met it. And at one point, Patty had done the data, and we did not meet it. I was like, Oh my goodness, anyways, and then she went back and she was looking at a few things, this, in class does not populate by just a computer. She has to do it by hand, it is very tedious. With, Skyward 21, we're hoping that, and we've been told, and we talked to the district, they said in class we'll be able to upload into it, we will not have to continue doing this by hand, but it takes a very long time. Y'all remember this, Howard talking the last time, how many hours she put into the presentation because of the amount of just behind the scenes work we have to do. It does not upload into GMAT easily like the STAR test will, so it has to be done by hand. So we did need it this year, so in second grade, is that huge moving target 2, and they're having to do the maze, they're having to do the fluency, so it's harder. So every year this continues to move, and that goal just continues to move throughout the year. So the reading, we met both of those goals. And then math, you'll see they did outstanding. For first grade, they went from 15% to 53%. So they bypassed that 35 big time. And then also for second grade, they went from 4 to 43. So very, very proud of all the hard work. Again, it's all the behind the scenes, it's the intervention. It is all the team planning, they plan every week, plus PLT every week. So there's just a lot of time to prepare and make sure the lessons have that high rigor and intervention for meeting our students' needs. The next page you will see is just comparisons of growth. So you'll see at the beginning of the year, you'll see the numbers starting to shift. So the first column you see here at 54% at the beginning of the year, and that moved down to 27%. But you can see that the approaches, which is the second bar, they continue to grow, which is what we wanted to do. And then the same thing with the meets. And that's what we focus on for LSG. But I know Ms. Robinson and a few other trustees had that question before, so we wanted to make sure we gave you all the categories and not just me. So a lot of this, Ms. Trustee Robinson, is just kind of your reading pleasure and you have, if you have any questions, more than welcome to answer them. The next one is the second grade reading, is kind of the same thing, and it just kind of shows you the shift of LSP was the 33 to the 43 to the 53. And then you'll just see that the master continues to grow too. But we want to make sure we're not just getting our students, you know, in the red. We want to make sure that we're continuing to grow the students that are above benchmark as well. We don't want them to stay stagnant. We want them to continue to grow and be just as successful as our students that are below grade level. And then the next page is the math comparison, and that one just is just beautiful to look at. If you look how far the needs went from 15, 42 to 53, and so the students definitely are going to be ready for second grade. And that's one thing we had in line meeting at the beginning of the year with Ms. Epstein, Ms. Howard. We sat down and said, this is what we need them to do. We need them to come in here and know they can come in and they know their numbers. So they can identify 0 to 10 and 0 to 9. We can rock the goal. And so you can tell by their goals, they've met them, they've exceeded them. So I'm just excited to see where we start this year because it's going to be even better than the other. And then the next page is just the second grade math comparison. You'll see that at the beginning of the year, we didn't have any in the meets, we went to 20 to 43. And then you can steadily see how that fell, decreased from 28 to 13. And then there was a slight increase of the fell to 14 at the end of the year. Sometimes we look at our, we actually pulled out how many sped students we had and we looked at the percentage. And our numbers in sped UP, they are increasing. And we've seen a huge increase in COVID. But there's also been all kinds of new, not new, but all kinds of different students that are being identified in the early child lines, and it's just the numbers are growing. It's just rapidly. You can tell it at Cherry, they're having to add classes all the time because of the number of students that are needing the services and the support. So it is a big thing, but we are making sure we're trying to intervene, and so that we don't have to go to special ed route. Mr. Bryant does an excellent job as our interventionist and serving students with dyslexia and everything else. So we try to intervene before ever recommending. Testing is kind of the last result that we want to move to. We want to exhaust all of our toolbox, get all of our tools before referring the student for special ed. And then the last one is just the student behind. I'm sorry, the one that has first grade reading wrote by composite. I just whited out the names and celebrated that just to kind of show you some of those kids that went from red and then they went on bypass the yellow and the green and straight to blue. So almost every single one of them ended up at the end of the year above benchmark. So and that's for first grade reading and then first grade math. And then this is the report card. This is something I have had. I started this when I was at Cherry, and there was a lot of tears then. There's still tears, now, at the middle of the year, at the end of the year, they are celebrating. So this is what they get. This is their report card, and I did put the teacher's name on here. I think two of our teachers are in here right now, but I put their sitting here, but you can tell. When you look at it, they're so good though, like they would let me say their name, I can tell you exactly which teachers, but when you have 69% of your students are in the fail, and they go from 38 to 18, come on, you've got to go watch these rock star teachers. They are phenomenal, they're just, I mean, you know, we go back to Justice Salon, and somebody's to this in our head, it's bell to bell, chief, they are teaching bell to bell. There is no break, you never go in there, there's never an off day, they are always on. And so I'm very proud. So at the bottom, you can see their achievement score. So this teacher was a star teacher. She would get an A for her achievement, she'd get an A for her growth, and then looking at relative schools around us, she would get an A as well. So they get graded. And it's something that you have to be honest with yourself, you have to be honest with your own data. It's the only way you can improve. You can't have teachers that are going to be D teachers. We just can't. We have to make sure we're making our students seen. So that was the 3 different teacher examples that I included in there as well. Like I said, there's great things happening. Very, very proud.
It's amazing.
Hey, it's not me, it's the teacher.
Amazing.
It takes everyone. This was definitely our best year by far. Our discipline was very minute. And again, I think that the great things happening in our district, and I think it's just going to continue to excel, and very, very proud of her.
Wendell, I don't think I've ever seen you as excited as you are tonight. You talked really, really fast.
So like that comes with the joke, like I never talking to them, trying to watch out. Because they were talking like 1,000, but we have school today, you know, it's like more relaxed, right here, and you know. But anyway, I'm very proud, but I just love working with Sharon City Homes too. I think they were moving in a really good place.
Thank you so much.
But you know, thinking about a question, you know, do these teachers at the lower levels, do they own the 3rd grade start course? I think the answer is pretty.
I just wanted to assure you, go back to being relaxed. Listen, I could tell it should not be harder to come before us. It should be much easier. And but we do appreciate you and what you're doing, and thank you. I had no questions because I looked at it before I gave you. So I'm okay. Thank you.
It's intimidating. You don't understand. It's intimidating.
Well, we appreciate everything that y'all are doing, and it is evident tonight in Cherry and Lenny Roberts' presentations. And I know that it goes for the junior high and high school as well. And we get to hear their information, but it is truly remarkable. The excellence bar that is being set, and that when you hold that bar high, what happens? They just rise up to it. So thank you from the top down to all of the teachers and everyone in the building. It is evident that that is what is happening, and that bar is being held high. And that is what we're here to do, is to educate children and to ensure their success. And that's exactly the priority. So truly appreciate each of you.
Well, I didn't even give a shout out, but it's also central admin. I mean, our teachers are supported by them. Our teachers are getting the needs and the resources. Used to, you had, you know, your little budget money and you had to use that, and that was it. And now there's times that they want wish list things to make it happen, and we make it happen. So it has to do with central admin always being on having our back as well.
Thank y'all. Thanks, Dr. Member. Great work.
And the more you guys continue to focus on these goals and monitor them, I mean, I think it creates a lot of synergy between classroom and the boardroom that wasn't there a couple of years ago. Now it's just getting better. So when we think about that, has there anything been done in the last month that you would say has increased the community ownership of board's vision goals? We think toward that in the last month. Let me just tell you what's a couple of our districts are doing. You know, we have 10 districts amongst our government. A couple of them are using video. Very they're like producing, one district's even producing a couple of videos a month. And the next one they're working on is interviewing board members, what they're trying to do to improve student outcomes. And so And even during the graduation, they had a video that displayed the work that the kids would do with teachers. And they have like a jumbotron on the football field. And so they ran their video before graduation, which is pretty awesome. So also you can use it in social media and things like that. It's really important to get the community behind, because it's kind of like, I don't know, when you have a really successful team, it's like a drug, right? Everybody wants to one. And when you get a book on the successful outcomes of students, it's like nothing else, and they just want to. So I really applaud these principals, the teachers, the kids that work hard together. And you can tell they own those third grade schools. That's what it's all about. Getting the kids to that point. It's not about the test. It's about teaching the teams. Helping the kids understand what the Texas knowledge and skill are. And so that's a fine thing. Now, as far as the summer activity, I've discussed this with Dr. Mack and a couple of principals. We're at the end of the 5 years for the goals. The HB3 goals are kind of running out. Plus, we just had a star redesign. We've had an 8.5 redesign. So it's a good time for us, once we get the results from this past year, to retool. So what I want to do is meet the leadership team either late July, early August, something like that, and draft some new goals, new goal progress measures, maybe come to you with some suggestions or constraints based on things we know you've had concerns about this year, and then bring it to you as a draft, maybe in August, but definitely in September, and looking at you approving it all in September, because we'll have all the results in August. By September board meeting, we'll be able to bring it to you for approval, and that'll be that's what we cover that way. And then we begin monitoring in October, November, December, all throughout the rest of the year. So that's kind of what we're suggesting based on the way we're getting results this year. Another thing that we need to do, looking at next month, we'll have whatever we have as far as star results. We won't have everything, but we'll be able to present what we do have. We'll do a board evaluation, and also it's time for us to redo the conflict of interest statements. And so you might just think about if there's anything you're doing that where you're having any kind of business relationship with school district or students, then we might want to identify that on conflict of interest statement and put it on the website. I like what you're supposed to do. And that's just a good protection for all of us. And Trustee Robinson, you said at the beginning of the meeting, thank the district for providing the opportunity for you to go to SLI. I want to thank each of you that went for taking your own time and volunteering for this job as a board member. You don't get paid for this. And when you go to training, yes, you enjoy it because you're with your colleagues, you're getting to rub shoulders with other board members. But it's a sacrifice because you, instead of being there, you could be with your family, you could be on a fishing trip somewhere, doing something else. But you're sacrificing your time and effort, and it's a very minimal thing the district does to provide for your travel for that. And it just makes you better when you work together as a team. So I want to applaud you for doing that. And we're planning for a retreat here coming up pretty soon. And we're going to just do locally, right? September. And so we look forward to that. Lots of great things. I'm sitting here, I was taking pictures and sending them to my colleagues back at the Region Center saying, Bay City is rocking it. And so thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We need to approve, do we have anything to approve this evening? We do need a motion.
Yes, we need to approve the
Report, correct.
time, the report from last month, and then the report that the principal did.
Correct. Great. Is there a motion to be made? The report.
And the report.
Perfect. Is there a second, Trustee Robinson's motion? Okay. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right, moving on to our items of business. Our first item of business is nominations for the TASB board position for Region 3. We were given information through a board book about this. The trustee that is serving for the Region 3 director position for TASB did not win her reelection out of Victoria, and so the seat is open. So we were asked, Dr. McIntyre received an email to let anyone that, any conversation, anything to bring it to the board, basically, to ask if there's anyone or any conversation of a nomination. There is, the commitment is, her term is a year. If you weren't able to read, so it's a year left in her term. And she is no longer, so you would basically be going and serving before any TASB retreats. There would be a meeting, and then I think it's quarterly, possibly in Austin. It's either 2 or 3 meetings in Austin that you would be going to represent Region 3 as a whole. So this is not a Bay City ISD like the delegates that we voted for last time, but this is a Region 3 as a whole. And if we don't want to nominate anybody and do anything, we don't have to do anything, but I wanted to bring it to our attention so we can have a discussion or anything, any questions that want to ask.
Jill, I just want to say that everyone's willing, it's a great opportunity for the district. We had some folks, there's a lot of enrichment to it, so it's of high value if anyone, and it is a lot of time, and we just talk about all the time you all get over it. But nonetheless, I just want to say that it's a great opportunity.
Are there any questions revolving around it? I know they're in, so Dr. Mack has pulled it up. There was a Q&A sheet that was attached in board book. If anybody has any questions, it went very much into detail of what that is. We can also table it and come back to the end of the meeting with it if y'all would like to do that as well.
So that would be important to the time.
Right, it needs to be done tonight if we're gonna make a nomination, because it closes June 30th, I think. Is the date that it closes to be able to put a nomination in, and there's quite a bit of paperwork that needs to go along with that, so. Any questions, thoughts?
And my wife as well.
It was a board member, she was on the Victoria ISD board. It does have to be a current board member within the region that has served for 18 months. There are very strict parameters around it. I think it was 18 months if I'm recalling correctly. Anybody? Okay. No. All right.
Jill, do you have any interest in doing it? I mean, is it something that,
I could do it.
so,
I could do it. There are questions that I have. I'm happy to, you know,
Well,
what your happens are.
would you like to be nominated?
Too much.
Yeah, I don't have an issue nominating you, I don't want to ask you for it, but
Right.
I don't have, these guys said, no, I don't.
And that's a question, I think, if we were to nominate me and I go and look and say, that's giant, could we rescind that? Well, how would that, do you have any idea about that? Before the June 30th. Okay, I'm happy to look further into it, and see where it takes us. But I do think it's a great opportunity for our board, moving forward as we grow and as we move as a district towards that culture of excellence. So,
Jill, I have a friend that sits on this board, and as a parent, it's a lot.
Yeah.
He's on the road, he loves that, really loves it, but it takes away from the stuff.
right, and that's my hesitation.
Yeah. We go and write it off on the thing. It's a lot of work, right? And I know I'm involved, you know.
I'm fine for the nomination, and then we can go further into it and continue to ask a couple questions before we fill out the paperwork. If that is okay with everybody in the way that can be handled. And we can also ask Oscar this evening when we talk to Oscar how that works. So why don't we table it, and we'll ask Oscar if that's a possibility legally, and then we can come back to it at the end. That work. Okay, so we'll table it to after we come out of closed session. All right, moving on to our next item, public hearing to discuss the 2023-2024 budget. Hello, Mr. Johnson. How are you this evening?
I'm just fine. How about y'all?
Doing well, thanks.
Okay, Well, what I want to say before I start is that what we're doing is we're presenting a budget. It's a deficit budget, but we're presenting it based upon the fact that where we are right now, without any information without new information from the legislature as far as additional funding for schools in the state of Texas. So the revenue that's in this budget is based upon the laws prior and current law right now before the legislature doesn't. So, and we're hopeful that they will do something with increase funding for schools in the state of Texas. So, what this is the kind of budget summary, the revenue and expenditures for the current school year as projected with the current law as it is without any changes, as I said. So our projected revenue, this is also what we call it local revenue, which means this revenue is generated from the state financial school program and property taxes, local property taxes. So our revenue projection for this next year, for this next school year, 23-24 is $37,043,000. And our projected M&O expenditures as presented in the next few slides currently is $39,922,000. That leaves a deficit of $2.8 million as we standing right now. And then our fund balance I'm projecting for the current year that we're finishing be around $12 million. And with the projected deficit, if we spend every dollar that we receive every dollar we're projected, and we spend every dollar that we budgeted, you would end up with $9 million fund balance at the end of next year. The optimum fund balance would be based upon the school first indicator about $2 million, $10.4 million. And you always have to kind of realize too and think, don't this is a budget. It's not, and we're projecting the future for our school district, and yet there's a lot of moving parts going forward. There's a lot of things that are in the work that could cause this to be better. I feel like this is very conservative and kind of, I want to say, we like the worst case scenario. But I'm still very positive about the future in this next year, not positive about the future of the district, of course, but also I'm positive about the next year school year that we're entering into. So the interest in sinking revenue, that's a different fund, but it's a fund where we pay our bonded debt, which is for bonded debt is the debt that we use, that we collect, pay our bonds for our new buildings and various things we've done over the past year. So this is bonded debt. So we will receive approximately $7,301,000 for revenue and INS expenditures, which means that's the amount we pay on our bonds, $7.2 million, which would be an increase excess of $96,000. So we have great fund balance in our INS. 2.4 million would be what we were at the end of the year. Any questions on that? That's then, okay. So now I'm going to go in to the next schedule, and what I want to look at is that okay, the last year we actually had ESSER funding. ESSER funding that supplemented our local budget. So I put on here the adopted budget also from 21-22, and I think it's important to look at where we were, what we adopted in 21-22, and what we're going to propose to adopt for 23-24. And so currently for function 11, which is instruction, we're proposing at expenditures of $20,225,000. Instruction is basically classroom expenditure. So if you compare our budgets for this next year, where we were at 21-22, we've decreased the budget for that function almost $1 million, $951,000. And then function 12, which is our media resources, which is otherwise known as libraries, we over 21-22, we decreased it proposal $81,300.
And then for function 13, we have a slight increase, 12,000. And for the biggest part of the increase is due to the fact that we budgeted monies for Grow Your Own, which means Grow Your Own for teachers and that we would our Grow Your Own program. But like I said earlier, things are changing all the time. So there's a very, very strong chance that we'll be able to pay that out of a grant going forward for this year and not spend that money. So, but it's not set in stone yet. That's just a possibility. Also, on function 21, which is instructional leadership, we're up from 470,000 to 660,000, $191,000. School leadership from prior 21-22 to current proposed budget, we're down 100,000, 2,284,000. Total budget for this year. The guidance, okay, and guidance is we also have in the current year budget. We've also are utilizing ESSER funds, which will end into this next school year to supplement this local budget. And I think Dr. Mack mentioned that to you all at this time. So, and then, for example, like on function 32, which is social work, it's being paid 90% out of ESSER funds for next year. And same with basically the same with the nurses, the health services. It's currently for this new budget year, we'll be paying those employees out of ESSER 3. And then function 34, which is transportation, we're up 445,000 over 21-22. But the other thing we found out today also, there's a real strong possibility that our title funds are going to be able to pick up cameras, for example, in our for our bus, which we were going to pay for locally because we need to replace cameras because they weren't being supported, and we need to upgrade the software. So Elizabeth, our special programs pilot informed us today that we're going to be able to, I'd say that's real high likely, like in the 90% range, that expense will not be paid locally. This will be paid out of title going forward. And then function 36, there's an increase from the budget from 21-22 this year, 251,000, and a big portion of that is the current agreement we have with the city to pay for the 16th Street pool rental. In function 41 had a $198,000 increase, but that is likely with coding change. And in function 51, we're as we spoke at our workshop, the cost of property insurance along Tier 1 counties is really expensive, and in our I guess our brokers has done a great job of marketing our property insurance is extremely expensive. And so we've also will research and have some information for another district in South Texas that we're in contact and try to see if we can improve that too. So budget 52, which is security, we're up 110,000. 53, we're up 300,000, 344, but we have an investment that's not the total cost of increase for that function 6 million. Object code 1,600, but a portion of that is our increase for Skyward software. And then as a result, when you get down to the total, we have budgeted expenditures of 39,922,000, which was on the first sheet for the summary, and our bonded debt payments for 7.2 million. So that's the and then also But we always say we adopt the budget in the state of Texas. School districts do based upon function. So this is the actual sheet that when y'all approve this budget, it will send, you post on the website. So showing the total expenditure budget that we have for local funds for the current next school year. And then also, we're required at this time also for y'all to approve the food service budget. And so our food service budget, we're projecting the revenue to be 2.5 million, expenditure to be 2.4 million with an increase in the projected fund balance of 42,000. Projected fund balance for the current school year probably going to be higher than this. But I'm using a figure of 600,000 at the end of this year. So that we need to get approval on that. And then also, this is the debt schedule that we should like to show each year. That shows what the principal amount that we owe at the end of the year, which is finished, plus the payments that we made this year, which is the second column. And the third column of the payments that we're required to make on the spot of debt for next year. And also shows, which is more important, I'd like to look at too, is that when we finish that payment. So, for example, the INS bonded debt, it'll carry us all the way to 2049. And then the other ones are M&O debt, which is paid out for local functions on the local dollars. We call it local. It's kind of it's kind of weird comment, like local. Pay, but anyway, those are the dates that we would complete those different debt instruments on a particular time. So Rick, yes, sir.
The 1.619 million is part of the $6.8 million plant maintenance and operation budget, right?
Well, it's actually on function 71, which is separate, which is it's like
1 point. Oh, it is separate. Okay, it's not even part of the.
it's not part of the.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
But that should get better over the next 2 years as we drop from 500 and 200.
Yes, that's correct.
Right, we're losing almost $1 million in debt there as we go forward.
Correct. In a few years, that's correct. And then this is like a one deal. And then we also, there's been a change in county principles, BCISD 96, it's caused us to break out the leases, the lease interest for leases that we have, and that goes in function 72. And what that boils down to is that before we paid function 51, and now we have to pay function 72. So we're just, it's still there, and it's still, this budget is different if you have that question. So, but that kind of includes the presentation. And then, if there's any questions or any additional.
Are there any additional questions for Mr. Johnson before we?
So back to the second slide thing.
Yes, sir. That one.
Yeah. The bottom, the projected excess for I think that's the INS.
Yes, sir.
We're adding 96,000 on the top part for the M&O. You have like a generally accepted or a percentage like we're supposed to have 10,400,000 in that section. What are you supposed to have for the INS?
Well, INS, there's really not a you just want to make sure there's really not a guide. You can have too much money in that area, and then they'll kind of come back on you and say you have too much of a balance INS, but we kept it around the 2 million, 2.4 million for the last million years and never had a comment. So the main thing what you want to do there is you want to make sure you have enough money to make your bond payments. So therefore, if you had what could happen, which happened one time since I've been here, if you had a large taxpayer that for some reason didn't pay, and then didn't pay the property tax for that current year. So then you run the risk of not having enough money in that fund to make the bond payment. So really, when I first started, probably 2006 or 7, we did have a large taxpayer in our district that didn't pay their property taxes in a timely manner. So therefore, it was a good thing we had the money in the fund balance, because we still had, no matter what, we still had to make our bond payment. So that, to answer your question, they don't really, there's not a formula for that. It's just that you want to make sure you're kind of conservative on that in case somebody, but we haven't had that happen in the last 50 years. So we don't have any
Little room there.
yes, sir. That's not really savings account, so that way you make sure you make it bond payments. What you don't want to do, not make that. You definitely want to make all your payments local or bonded debt, but that's a gigantic thing. If
You know, if that number was really high and they said, hey, you need to do something,
Then you could-
they can only go to INS.
that is correct. Yes, say it's totally. You would end up with the calculation that you do with the tax assessor collector. There's a whole formula that comes up to make sure you come up to that 38 cents. There's a whole formula that you can do, and what would happen is it would reduce that on this calculation. It would reduce that if it was what it's about.
Right, there, but we're gonna.
Public forum.
Yes.
Is this the public hearing part?
Yeah, you can talk.
I'd like to, very first slide, they showed there was a compare between 21-22 budget versus the 23-24 budget. $950,000 increase in total instruction. Is it true that it losing teachers? Over 3 years, it brought almost $1 million on it.
Did you answer that? Or you-
It could be varied factors. If we're looking at a line item, are you talking about which line you're talking?
you're talking about function 11,
Total function 11 altogether.
yes.
So it could be a number of things from supplies to capital outlays we see there. If you're gonna see teachers, you would probably look, Rick, you're welcome to correct me if I'm wrong, we primarily look at the 6,100 payroll, which is down as well. And what that is determined by is your enrollment. For example, our enrollment compared to pre-COVID is down. So yes, you would employ based on your enrollment, if that makes sense.
One other question buried in here was the like $1.4 million for transportation. I think that was this is just a general question. I think it was $1.4 million for transportation.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'd also, I would add to the comment also, so as I think through it, and you mentioned that number coming down for the teacher payroll up there. Another thing that we have done to save the district money is to move some of the salaries from the local budget to, as a district, we get significant federal funds. And so we can shift some of that burden to the federal funds, which shows as a decrease on the local side. So that would not mean at all, it would just be a savings. It wouldn't mean that there was a reduction in staff. And that would probably make up for the majority of that based on the staff tracking that I've done. I'd say it's probably more likely to go to the federal dollars more than anything. I bet on it.
On the transportation, it's such a general question.
10 years from then.
When I ride by the different schools, time to get out, and everything, it's a tremendous number of cars. Parents picking on cars. Is our bus system being fully utilized or? Maybe I didn't ask that quite right.
I'll speak as a parent and a board member. I mean, I know a lot of parents, a lot of parents pick up just because they want to pick up. They can live 2 blocks away and or they can live 2 miles away or 4 miles away.
Do we have any data on ridership percentage?
We had a little over 1,300 registrations this time. 1,300 registrations and a little over 1,000 daily rider attendance.
Almost a third of the district.
About a third.
The public is satisfied.
Thank you for your questions.
All right, we're gonna move forward into item C, which is the approval of the 23-24 budget. Is there a motion to be made?
Improving the budget, the whole budget. No staff increases.
So that will be discussed because the legislature has not done anything on that. That will come in September, hopefully, whenever they go back in special session, because we don't have a clear answer of what is being. The discussions at this point show two very different ideas coming from the House and the Senate. And so knowing that those discussions are happening, we are going to move forward with approving a budget because we have to. And then
There can be, so in the benefit of waiting for the legislature to act, they haven't allocated the funds for the next financing. And so there's a number of benefits to just waiting to make sure we see those numbers and what the impact will be. There's just too much uncertainty at this time, but again, it's about as close to 100% likelihood as you can have, at least in my 30 years in education, that we will need to come back and do a budget amendment no matter what, because the actual allocations, the formulas, all of that has not been approved. There are a number of different approaches to funding school districts that is still out there. And again, the legislatures are looking up there. They've already had one special session and they didn't take up House Bill 100. House Bill 100 solves all this for everyone. So they didn't even look at it for a special session, did not look at it. And so then we hope that we get to it soon so that we can be more responsible. And again, even the numbers showing up here for the adopted budget and the adopted deficit in this case will change from now to then. It's just there's so much in the air.
And we could you can do a budget amendment any time, but we're hopeful that we're able to do a budget amendment to this budget in September latest.
Also a couple of budget meetings this last week at the conference. They were all saying that you absolutely should not talk about your salaries right now, because even if you're thinking, hey, you know what, I feel pretty positive, I think we are gonna get more money, let's go ahead and improve the rate, then there have been times where they said, okay, yeah, if we have 5% rate, and then the state did come in and say, hey, you know what, we're giving you enough money where we could give a 5% raise, it's not they'll mandate a 5% raise, and they'll say whatever raise you've already given them, better than that. So then you have to eat that 5% that you were planning, that you were thinking they were going to give you, and they did give you, but now you're giving them a 10%. And you don't have that money, coming in anymore.
Yeah, I think rather than just approving it, I think it's important to make the statement that it's not that we're not approving a raise. Not saying we're gonna either, but that we're gonna come back and just so everybody understands, because I mean, if we just made the motion and approved it, I think everybody in this room would say, well, there weren't any teacher raises on there, and then the word would start talking and we would have to do a lot more damage. So.
And I think what I'm hearing is they probably will come back with a special will be called late August, early September, which is usually a 30-day unless they get work done sooner. That they cannot come to an agreement during, so we'll see how long that session takes.
Rick, could you comment also on the timeline with our July 1 budget?
Oh, okay.
There's some things we have to do that we
Okay,
like to wait on.
So we, as you all kind of know, we have a June 30th year in. So by our rules or by law, we as schools should have to adopt our budget by June 30th. They used to say June 25th, and then all of a sudden this year I noticed that on the correspondence we're giving the TA, they were saying about June 30th. But so therefore, in order for us to operate and move forward for the next school year, that's our fiscal year. So that's why we adopted this. Well, and there's about, say there's 1,100 school districts in the state of Texas, 300 to 350 of them have switched to where they have a June 30th year in. And so therefore all the rest of them, that they're going to be doing all this at the end of August, and adopting at the end of August. And so that's kind of where the legislature kind of, I guess, has that time set in their mind more than our district, so there may be somebody that, that's why we can always, you can amend the budget. It's a budget that you can amend at any time.
And also, I'd like to point out, we've had some discussions, when we signed off the school year, I sent a legislative update to the staff. They outlining kind of the things that were up in here. So again, the plan is after this budget is adopted, according to timeline, I will send them this, and I told them I will be sending you a summer update. And in that summer update, we'll clarify where we are, because I didn't know where we would be at that time anyway. We know now that we're not much further down the road at all. But we definitely put some very specific language about why compensation was not taken out at this time, based on the fact that we don't have all the information. So I can put that in the newsletter, but of course, we y'all on that. But I think absolutely communication is key. But again, the idea was to get another legislative update in the summer, let everyone know what we are, because that is absolutely critical. We're adopting based on the timeline, and unfortunately, we don't have all the information yet, but we get more information, we'll come back, and probably we'll come back with it.
Yeah, we've made a lot of ground in the last several years in pay and catching up to the districts, and we have a lot of members in the district and a lot of success, and I hate to see any of it stalled out because employees don't feel valued because we skipped over a pay raise or if we had the opportunity to do so. It will be in the discussions too. I'm not guaranteeing anything, so I'm one person.
Yes, I think we discussed it at the workshop, and once we heard about it at the meeting on last week.
Yeah.
It's the one guy that was presented said, we have to be careful in our deliverance and the verbiage that we put out there. As an educator, I only hear what I want to hear. So if I'm on the other side, I'm gonna hear that you don't want me to have one, and you're not going to give me one. But at the same time, that's not the outcome. We have to live with what we have here in front of us. I don't like the what ifs. I like what ifs.
All right, is there any other questions, any further discussion or conversation for Mr. Johnson? All right, we're going to move on to item C, which is the approval of 2023-2024 budget. Is there a motion to be made?
Thank you much.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion? All right, we have a first and a second. Is there any further discussion, questions, comments related to the budget before we put it up for a vote? All right, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right, thank you, sir, for all your work.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work. I know it is.
It was a big group effort by everyone involved, and all the Texas, all departments, everyone involved. So
Well, we
thanks to-
appreciate the work. So thank y'all. All right, moving on to our consent agenda. Is there anything on this agenda that anyone would like to remove before we make a motion? All right, is there a motion to be made?
Thank you much for the consent agenda.
All right, there is a motion on the table to approve consent agenda as written. Is there a second to the motion? All right, any further discussion, questions, comments on any of the items listed under consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right, we will convene into executive session. For two things, personnel matters, if necessary, may be taken into closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.074 to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, resignation, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, including contract recommendations for campus and district level administrators and teachers. And the second thing we will be doing is deliberation and or consultation with legal counsel regarding proposed offer from SAL Holdings LLC, DBA Lend Group, or Lend Development, excuse me, concerning 2417 16th Street, Bay City, Texas, Texas Government Code Section 551.071 and 551.072. The time is 7:34. We will move into closed session. We're gonna go a little bit out of order, of the current agenda. We are going to pick up the item that was tabled in in the business section of our agenda, the nomination for TASB board position for Region 3. Is there a motion to be made?
I want a motion that we table it.
Motion to nominate Joe Westmoreland for the position.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All right, any questions, concerns? Besides, something I'm kidding. All right, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, motion passes 6-0. All right, now going to item number 2 under reconvene into open session. Possible action regarding proposed offer from SAL Holdings LLC, DBA Lynn Development concerning 2417 16th Street, Bay City, Texas. Is there a motion to be made?
I make a motion that we authorize the superintendent and the legal counsel to respond as discussed in closed session to SAL Holdings LLC, DBA Lynn Development concerning 2417 16th Street.
All right, there's been a motion made. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All right, there's a first and a second. Any questions, comments, further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right, the last item of business before adjournment, discuss and consider approval of hiring contractual personnel. Is there a motion to be made?
Make a motion to approve appointment of personnel as presented in board book.
All right, is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All right, there's a first and a second. Are there any comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right.
I would like to just share that I'm so proud of the tradition of excellence at Bay City High School and all that they're able to do there. It's so impressive. It's been absolutely one of the many highlights of the district. And at this time, I'd like to congratulate Ms. Mary Lynn Mosier Flores as the new principal at Bay City High School. Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thanks. All right, our last item of business, adjournment. Is there a motion to be made?
I make the motion to do.
I second the motion.
All right, any further questions, comments, concerns? Thank you all for everything, and I know you have a great July 4th off when it comes. All in favor of adjournment? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. We will adjourn this meeting at 8:38.